Welcome back to The Big Issue on City 973 and also on City TV. This morning, discussing the first of three issues. The first has to do with the Black Stars and the performance at the AFCON and the Ministry of Youth and Sports' intervention. There was a meeting yesterday, which we can assume has led to the sacking of the national team head coach. That was a story that emerged just about an hour or so ago. Milovan Rajevac is no more. We expect the entire technical team to go with him. From the ministry's press statement, we'll perhaps also expect a reshuffle at the Black Stars Management Committee level. We'll see how that goes. So far, nothing has come out on that, but one of the requests of the Ministry of Youth and Sports was a reconstitution of that. And I've tried to look at what problem the sacking of Milovan Rajevac solved in the immediate term. But now we can look at the bigger picture of how do we get Ghana to be competitive again? Is this simply a matter of still throwing money at the team and expecting that we do well at tournaments? And I think Franklin has asked the most important question of the day. Why do we carry that sense of entitlement to tournaments that Ghana must beat everybody? Have we done the kind of work that leads us to have those kind of dreams? Chris and Jerome will have a bite at that. But I also brought in somebody who deals a lot with football at the grassroots level on the line. I'll talk to him for about 5 minutes and then I'll come into Jerome and Chris. Edem Ansah is the CEO of Soccer Time. He does social projects as well as a lot of business with young boys in the Volta region and then in the Greater Accra region as well. Edem, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Godfred.
Thank you very much for joining us. And I'm sure you've heard the first part of the conversation where we've dealt about the sacking of Milo. But from where you come from, you deal with the game at the developmental level. And there are those who have said for Ghana to do well at tournaments, which is where the interest seems to be, tournaments, qualify for AFCON, qualify for World Cup. But the work is not being done at the level that you operate at, development level. How do we fix that?
Okay. Good morning again, Godfred. Good morning to your listeners and the fellow panelists. Thanks again for this opportunity. Let me digress a bit by saying that we have to broaden the discussion a bit, okay, to look at the policy side of things. Okay. Fair enough. The Sports Ministry has issued a directive this morning, okay? But what is the broad-based policy as far as football development of the government or of our government, okay? This is a country that is noted globally, okay, for its prowess in football. We've achieved a lot. We've used football to market the country, okay? Football creates jobs. It's an essential tool in the fight against poverty. Okay, as government, and I'm not talking about this government, as government, what has been our policy to develop football over the years? Look, what is happening is indicative of what is generally happening in our sports. It used to be the case that the Golden Racket, okay, they would play and be almost on the brink of qualification to Davis Cup Zone 1. Tim Henman and Greg Ruzewski, they were here somewhere around 95, 97.
I recall at the Accra Sports Stadium.
Yeah, okay, Ghana was all over in the UK. You understand? Because we were playing Greg Ruzewski and Tim Henman right here in Accra. What has happened to our Golden Racket? We used to have the mobile games. We used to have Emmanuel Tufo, Solomon Amegata, Timothy Hasey, Neto Boateng. Just name them. There was this policeman, Kennedy Osei. We would always be in the final of any major athletics competition. What is happening to us today? So, we have to look at things from the policy point of view and to note that we cannot just wait and then every 4 years make budgets available for national teams and expect that we would gain something. or we will bring back the glory days. Let me give you an example. School sports, okay, used to be the platform for the development of all these players. Sule Muntari came from somewhere, Kers, ACN from Ogasco. There was James Nano and Oleno were from Loteco, Enongwa. And you would see these players, yes. You would see this Sani Wahab in Maoli School, okay? I mean, used to compete, and you could see that this is a talent that will end up on the national level. What do we have now? The school calendar has no space for any sporting activity. You understand? Now, interdisciplines, interregional sports competitions, even national games, nobody pays attention. The sports development unit of GES, when was the last time you heard about them? You understand? Now, we are building, what's it called? Appiate here and there, thanks to GMTC support and all that. Good enough. But what is the policy direction? Are we just awarding contracts, or we are ensuring that we are putting them in areas where they can be utilized? I mean, Techiman has been a hub of the development of our football talent. Most of the young kids we bring come from Techiman. I'm shocked Techiman doesn't have an Appiate. You understand? So you have to look at it from the policy point of view, and finally, okay, you have to look at the quality of people we send to the sports units or sports ministries. I mean,
you mean at the ministry level?
Even at the ministerial level. I mean, I have to be very frank with you. You understand? We had Mustafa, Honorable Mustafa Yusuf. You have Akwasi Laganto at the point in time. I mean, you can name them.
Mahama Yariga.
Mahama Yariga, yes.
I think Nilante might be the only exception.
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll come there. Mahama, he said, they asked me to get a football club and I got one. What is their understanding of youth football? Our structures, the difficulties, that our kids play in. Look, just go around. The Division 2 league starts on the 28th. You understand? And you can see, I mean, the RFAs are trying to do their best. I mean, with the little resources they have, they can do with more. But, you go and you look at some of the fields that we expect players to play on, and they are like potato farms. You understand? And so we have to look at it from a broader perspective to understand why FNB spends so much money in South Africa in the development of youth football, and when you come to Ghana, you don't hear them, you don't associate them with sports. Why ENI Energy has a program in Italy targeted at identifying African kids who are children of parents that have come to Italy through illegal migration and are giving them the opportunity to develop their talent. And right here in Accra, they have an office here, and they are not doing anything in football. So if you look at all these factors together, then you will understand why our sports is thinking at a very fast, even in boxing, boxing. I mean, we used to have them. You would hear of Kofi Kwe, I mean, African international middleweight champion. You would hear of what's called Douglas Odani. I mean, but we don't have them anymore. So as a force in sports, okay, we are going down at a very, very alarming rate. Okay, and every president or officials of various units, when they come, whatever they pursue will have to fit in the broader sports developmental agenda of the government. You understand me? Cat came up with some very laudable policies. Catch them young, empowerment, creative, but it has to fit into the broader governmental football development agenda. Where is that one? You understand? So if I'm reading today that the sports ministry has issued a directive, do we want to appease Ghanaians? Yes, there are problems, and I agree largely with most of the points that have been raised. But the countries that are achieving something have been intentional. Equatorial Guinea have said to them, listen, let's go back. All these guys we have who are who were born in what's it called, Spain and other areas. Let's put them together. You talk about the Gambian defense being very organized. Look at Omar Colley. Okay, this is a guy who came from the youth development system, got to Finland, made it to Sweden, and is in Italy now. Today, he's back. So, Godfrey, we have to look at a whole lot of factors.
Okay.
And we have to sit down and tell ourselves that when we won the first African Cup, 3 countries participated. The second one, 4. Maybe the last one in 82, 8 countries participated. We are simply no longer a force in sports. And we have to wake up and institute policy interventions to arrest the situation.
Thank you very much, Edem Ansah, CEO of Soccer Time Agency. Jerome, do you agree? Policy.
Yes.
Because that is the next phase of the conversation we are having.
I don't want to tell
Show up at tournaments or build the game properly.
Yeah. I don't want to tell viewers what you told me about a former minister when it comes to policy.
It's okay.
You know what I'm talking about. But see, everything that we've heard, Edem,
Nilante,
Honorable Nilante, and
Franklin,
everything they've said points to the direction that so many things are wrong with our game. And maybe I should start with Franklin's observation. See, I think it is just about how we communicate to our publics when it comes to these competitions.
Yeah.
And I'll give you just one example. Just when we were told about the $25 million thing for AFCON and World Cup, I heard very clearly that the team had been tasked to go and win the AFCON.
And World Cup semi-final.
And Godfrey, the three of us here, and honorables, I mean, everyone know, except you don't know what is happening right now, you would understand that it is not possible for Ghana to be in the last 4 of the World Cup. But it was everywhere. And I'm sorry to say this. Here were the FA boss and other people there clapping to this. As if to say, we can just do it by beating our chest. We come back home, reality dawns that, look, this is not possible. But our fans out there have taken this and they're on the street. Oh, Ghana will win the AFCON. In fact, this Cameroon competition, I saw stories quoting the FA boss saying that we will win the competition. I'm saying that, and that is to answer Franklin's observation, that something has got to change with how we even communicate to football fans.
The expectations.
The expectation. It has to be managed. If we had been told that, given the problems we have had, we are now trying to build a foundation. Thank
17
you.
deputies.
I mean, yes, we are putting the blocks together to see where we can raise the team to. I'm not sure fans will come insulting and attacking people for not winning the competition, because we can't do it. If we've not done it in 40 years, what is the guarantee that it can be done just under any circumstance? So for me, it's just about how we communicate expectations, and we need to deal with that issue. Now, one point Honorable Nilante raised, which I was so happy with, and I've held this position since 2014. Management. Sometimes I don't even want to talk about the players, because the players are like clay. How you mold them and put them in the sun, you come back and meet them like that. But management decisions, Godfrey, if we are to go back to 2014, what happened in Brazil for me was leadership failing us, and not about the players at all. So something has got to change with how we manage the Black Stars, the decisions we take. We were on one of your spaces, and I know you remember this very well. I told you about Kudus.
Yes.
Some of our friends didn't understand why we even want to go back to the issue all the time. But for me, the Kudus issue, for example, was a leadership failure. Because those of us here know very well that when players get injured, it is nothing to hide, nothing to conceal. It is nothing extraordinary. It's a natural consequence. We are human beings.
It's part of the game.
It happens all the time. what I was expecting, for instance, managers of the team, and when I mention managers of the team, I'm talking about the coach, the FA, and the Black Stars Management Committee. What I expected them to do, relative to the Kudu situation, for example, was the guy is not fit. On the basis of his unfitness, look at how soon or how quick he can recover. Okay, so per what the information we have from the medics, his recovery, it's say 60 or 70%. On the basis of that, we are including him in the team. At this stage, he will be able to play. Or maybe his recovery is 30, 40%. On the basis of that, we can't take him to the competition. So that you make that clear decision. Fans will not, midway into the competition, hope that Kudus is coming. And you go to presses and journalists will ask you, when is Kudus coming? And you give an either-or situation. You don't manage a senior national team like that. Even our football clubs, we don't manage them like that. So I'm saying that a lot of these problems we have had is also to do with how management take decisions. They know very well the right things to do because, I mean, a lot of these things, we see them on TV all the time. How many times haven't we had Manchester United, Man City, Liverpool and those things deal with some of these things in a very simple way? But it comes back on our laps, and for us it's like some rocket science that we have to bring people down to brainstorm and find solutions to them. We have got to take a serious look at even the people we appoint to take hold of certain things when it comes to this thing. And I side with you. I think in your introduction you talked about the management committee. When you were mentioning the names, I'm sorry, but I forgot that Sami Kufuor was part. And the moment I heard the name, I felt bad. Because, given his experience in the game,
some of the things we saw should not happen.
If I were him, I would even decline the appointment. Because the Black Stars Management Committee in the first place doesn't have to be there. What is it that the Black Stars Management Committee does? So much that if they are not there, it cannot be done. Yesterday, I was asking someone that I don't know. I want to know what they do.
They should tell us.
So that we can look at it and say, okay, because of your relevance, these things that you do, when you are not there, can be done, so you'll be there. Otherwise, Godfred, Alex Asante, what's his role in the Black Stars?
He does almost everything.
Thank you. From what I have known of him, he is like a cog, a key part of everything Black Stars when it comes to logistics, their movements, their travel, everything. What is it that committee does that we can't get 2-3 people as part of the...
2-3 is a lot. Just one. Because like I said, as a function, most of these decisions... So I'll give you a special example. At the moment, I think Patrick Mboma is team manager of the Cameroon national team, if I'm not mistaken. At the last World Cup, it was somebody else. At the last AFCON, when they won it as well, one of their former players makes all the decisions regarding where the team will sleep, who is coming. He's the one who flies to go and check on players when they are injured. The most successful version that we have seen for some time was Oliver Bierhoff for the German national team. Basically, no decision about where Germany's national team goes is made without Bierhoff signing off on it. He is the team manager, so-called. So he is the management committee. Reports to the FA.
Just one person doing that job.
And that's what I'm saying. In our case, the committee is useless. We have to let the FA understand. When I read the ministry statement...
And there's a national team's coordinator as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, too many things all coming together and we still don't have, success. I'm saying that when I read the ministry statement and they were saying the committee should be... I said, ministry, you should have just said disband it. Don't do it again.
But that's not where the problem also lies, where at the point that they makes about the policy, the people at the ministry even understanding what the problem is.
So coming to that, the ministry ought to be told. And I started saying this on Monday, that I don't think the Ministry of Youth and Sports, they have protected the interest of the state too well. And you mentioned it. Aside the issue of policy, which is critical, because if you don't have any plan on the table as to what you want to do, within what time, and what you want to achieve, how are you even going to set targets? Yes. So it is up to the ministry to make demands, certain demands. If they don't know, they should consult. There are people in the business who can tell them what others are doing, which is giving them results. And we should be very patient, because where we are now, we can't get to the last 4 of the World Cup like we are setting it.
Yeah, which brings me to an interesting quote from former Black Stars midfielder Ajiman Bedu. I think he summarized everything you said. He says, the Black Stars, it says the team is collapsed. Let us go for a development plan. If we qualify to the World Cup, fine. But if we don't, we shouldn't be worried. Let us build from scratch and stop comparing past teams to the current one. If we keep relying on the old team, then we have a long way to go.
You see, he's spot on. And just to end, the ministry representing government must take the interest of Ghanaians and protect it. It comes to the agency point I think Honorable was also raising. Look, it's a subject no one wants to talk about. I was very young then when I think the new Ghana Football Association structure was set up, where, for instance, they said that if you don't own a constituency in the football space, you can't be part of it. I think that is where our problems started from. I was very young then. I didn't understand
what they were talking about.
But today, I can tell you that it is a potential, eternal issue of conflict of interest. And that's what Honorable was talking about. I'm a Kotoko fan. Everybody knows how I support Kotoko. If I'm to get into any of those spaces, are you telling me that I can honestly look at my Kotoko affinity and say that make sure Kotoko players don't get there? I won't do that, because I'm human. So that has to be looked at. We need to make it clear to the FA people that we cannot go on the way we are going on. There are some things I don't want to say on this platform because, until recently, when call-ups are made, look at the Under-17 2023 and check where the players are coming from.
He said them. General,
no, I'm saying that
to say these things. Because when Ketogreku alone has 5 things, when you go to the Under-15, about 16 of the boys there belongs to him alone. When you go to Under-17, the same number. Under-20, the same number. Black Stars, the same number.
You see,
He's
Coach,
the only person doing
Coach,
football.
The point I'm making is,
quickly
until recently, when call-ups are made and you put the squad down, you check two of our teams. You let me take the 20 and the 17 and check the clubs they are coming from. And you ask yourself, why is it that all of a sudden, 13 years, Yantachi ruled Ghana football?
We didn't see this.
We didn't see such things. And all of a sudden, you see clubs. There was one that there was a Vision FC goalkeeper. I said to myself, wow.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you can have players coming from. And we are not saying that. We are not saying that don't bring these players. What we are saying is, if it is as a result of your proximity to power in our football, then it is wrong. It is wrong. Because once I also come and I have that influence, I'm also going to use it. And where would the interest of the state be? That is why the sports ministry must take these issues very seriously. Because Godfred, at the end of the day, if we are not able to cut that part where people will promote their interest, what will happen is, when they get to the national teams and we qualify for, say, the World Cup, it is going to be their players on the world stage. The ministry is funding these players and whatever they are going to do there. At the end of the day, if these players get contracts abroad, where does the money go?
The money
It goes to private pockets. Nothing will come to the country. Meanwhile, it is the government that may have funded 7 players, 3 players, 2 players from these guys managing the team. And the end result is that they are going to benefit. Eventually, we may not win anything. But because their players will be picked by top clubs elsewhere, they become winners.
Chris, you have 5 minutes.
Wow. To be honest with you, when it comes to development, you know where I stand on that.
Yes.
I'm so happy Honorable Neil Ante van der Poel is on the show. When we came back from Brazil, Godfred, the then government, of which Honorable was part of, set up a commission of inquiry. He mentioned the late Ben Kofi's name. He was the chairman of a technical committee set up by the commission that this technical committee, we are giving you the task of giving Ghana a brand of football and coming out with proper developmental strategy that as a country we are supposed to build upon and make sure our football and our sports in general gets to the next level. It was made of the late Ben Kofi, the late Coach Samadi, Masawu Didi Dramani, Otia Kentin, then the technical director of the FA, my good friend Coach Opele, but because of, at the time he was very busy, so he couldn't be part. The current Professor Minta,
Director of Education of GFA.
that's it. I was the secretary to that committee. Godfred, Ben Kofi at the time was more than 79 years. This man, with all his brains, we will sit from like 1 p.m. and at times from his own pocket, he will feed us and we close at 11:30, 12 midnight. There was a time we closed at 12 midnight. And he asked me, Coach, do you have a car? I said, no, I don't have a car. So how will you get home? I said, I'll try and get myself. And he said, no, I'll drive you home. I said, no, you can't do that. At your age, you should drive home and then rest. He said, no, I'll take you home. True to the man's words, he took me home. And when I got home, I told him that, Daddy, please, I will not sleep until you call me that you have reached home. And he was staying somewhere
In Dansoman.
in Dansoman. I'm at Appiate on the Dodua stretch. Look at the distance. He took me from the Ghana Football Association headquarters all the way to Appiate, and then he drove by and he called me. Look, we presented a technical report to the commission. In that commission's final recommendation, that report is there. And one of the things we said, which I'm going to repeat here, is that going forward as a country, we should look at establishing proper academies owned by the state
Across the country.
in every region in this country. Get the human resource of Ghanaian technocrat and put them there. And I remember when I was presenting the thing on behalf of the technical team to Justice Jamefe, I think that's the name.
Yes, Jamefe.
Justice Jamefe. I told him that I'll use myself as an example. I'm an educationist. Apart from my science background of doing chemistry to the very highest level and then teaching, I also have my coaching badges. So imagine opening an academy, having someone like me there. I'm not going to only coach football, but I'm going to ensure that when it comes to education, these boys will benefit. And you can do this thing and liaise with the Ministry of Education whilst we are coaching or we are taking them through proper development. Their education is also not compromised. That, in my view, is the beginning of whatever we are supposed to do going forward. And the beauty of it is, look, we costed the project at that time. I was given the task to look at what has been done in Spain, look at what has been done in Germany, look at what has been done in France, and together with Masawu Didi Dramani, develop a model that will suit the Ghanaian player in terms of our system and our brand of football. Honorable Neelante van der Poel, I know personally, is a football person. He's a sports player. He played the game. So when he speaks, you can see the know-how in what he says, the substance in his submission. But I sit here today, Ben Kofi is gone, the late coach Sam Ade is gone, Otia Kentin is still around, Masawood is still around, Professor Minta is and Professor Minta is very close to the Ghana Football Association. He works hand in hand with the current technical director. I sit back at times and I'm so sad that you were part of such solid work done by proper technocrat. And you cannot tell Bernard Lepaitre that there is a document there that we need to what? Expand upon. Bring in the Ministry of Youth and Sport. Bring the FA people, sit them down, and put that document before them and say, look, as a country, this is we even went on to say that let tax every assembly in this country to put 0.5% or any form of percentage of the money they make in establishing these football or these sports centers in every region. And let's see where Ghana will be in the next 10 years. So when Ajimabedu speaks like the way he's spoken, it is clear that this is somebody who understands how these things are supposed to be done. Look, we will sack coaches, we will bring in new ones. Apart from the physical problem that is immediate, that we should address, like Jerome has said, make sure you dissolve that management committee. It should never be made.
It should not exist
at all. It shouldn't be there. When it comes to selection of our players into the team, get a proper technical scout, technical team made of proper scout. I am of the view that if you go elsewhere, it's not only if you go to Italy, England, it's not only about Southgate or Roberto Mancini bringing our players there. There's a scouting team that are scouting everybody. And when Roberto Mancini brings out his team, the technical men are all sitting there. Nobody's going to impose on me. But if you mention Jerome, he would justify why it should be Jerome and not Dr. Kotobuav. That is the way we should be looking at it. And not have our coach never again defend his team before management members who know nothing. I repeat, I won't take that back. Who know absolutely nothing when it comes to matters of technicality and tactics.
Even with Sami Kufo sitting there?
Oh, no more. If he's sitting there, the sort of things that are happening, if he's of the, it should not be happening. The sort of thing that is happening, look, he is there, but look at what is happening. This is somebody who, when he was playing, could challenge
the management committee.
The management committee. But look at how he's compromised himself.
See, everything that the management committee does, Sami Kufo alone can do.
Can do it. And
He
knows
alone,
that for a fact.
because he has everything that a footballer should know
and make sure it is done and it is implemented. But he's compromised his stance. So all of them go. We shouldn't look. How I wish I was the one making the decision. Godfred, you know me.
Okay, but you're not the one making
I will just.
You're not the one making the decision.
That is what. You see, when our money is being put into something, please, we need to get something back.
The best out of it. Hold on. For me, I'll give you final words on this. You have the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, Godfred, I'm so happy Coach Nimle has mentioned this particular issue. You see, that is why I say sometimes politics is also at the base of our problems in this country. When we left office, in fact, it's just unfortunate that we didn't win the elections in 2016. That document was going to be my Bible as far as football management and football development in the country was concerned. Because just as we had the Ben Kofi 10-year development plan, that document was so rich. I looked at it, I read it, but I spent days reading that document. And in fact, he mentioning names has just drawn tears to my eyes because of the passing of Ben Kofi and Coach Ade. These are my fathers when it comes to issue of football. I sit with them, we talk football morning to evening. And Ben Kofi also coached me when I was in the university team. So I have that relationship with him. I call him Papa. And I was always in his house in Dansoman. So we discussed the issues. And when I became Minister for Youth and Sports, there was no time that I would not call him and ask of his ideas or I bounce issues off him. Look, we know that as we are discussing today, all of us know the problem. We have the answers. But the issue is that who is going to call me, call you, call Jerome, call Namely, for us to sit down at the common table, irrespective of political affiliations, and discuss these problems that we have, and be able to look at it and say that, look, this is a national problem, and all of us will have to look at it nationalistically and take decisions. So it becomes a document, a blueprint, a charter that irrespective of which political party is in power, will work with it, and becomes like we have in the economic development plan of the country, the 40-year or 25-year development plan that was developed by the National Development Planning Commission. We must have such a plan for Ghana football. Not only Ghana football, for Ghana sports. Look, what we are talking about in football is happening in athletics. It's happening in boxing. Today, boxing, there's a serious problem between the new administration of Ghana boxing and some of the promoters, because the president of the Ghana Boxing Association will not agree in order for our promising boxers to be given some useless opponents in order to build their records. He is insisting. They have a term they call Achiagbeshi. Godfred, if I'm a very good boxer and they want to build my records, they will bring somebody like you. 1-2 rounds, any small blow hits you, you fall, and my record become rich in order to be attractive to the other association affiliated bodies and get fights. Because those who are managing those boxers are only interested in the money they will make and not the real development of our boxers. So you see today, our boxers go out there and then they embarrass us because they are not getting good opponents locally. Azuma Nelson became Azuma Nelson because right from day one, he was giving the likes of Billy Kwame to fight with. Where at that time, Billy Kwame's father, Freeman Kwame, thought that his son was the best featherweight in the country. They fought. You understand? All these boxers, Joshua Crote, Joshua was given very strong opponents to fight with. So I'm saying that we have a chronic problem in sports. And until all of us sit down and recognize the fact that, look, these are the problems we have. Let's resolve it. I was so happy with Adam Anson's presentation. Look, if you get up, and Godfrey, you and I have talked about this issue several times, and you just use money to go and build an AstroTurf, that really cannot let us have 11 players on the field to play. It's waste of money. It's waste of money. So what we have built are for leisure and not for football development. You understand me? That park we have put, the money we spent to put that park at Sukura, could you have used that to develop the Liberty Park in Danzuma, which will be used by Liberty, Great Olympics, House of Folk, and the rest of the all the teams? You understand me? Why should we use money to go and put AstroTurf in Yinahini when Kumasi Sports Stadium is suffering? You understand? When New Edubiase is suffering. So all these are issues that we have to look at critically and see, look, what do we do with our sports development? Let me come back to the issue that we are discussing, especially the issue of sacking of coaches and all this. And Nimle said it well. We can sack Milo tomorrow or today. The person will bring. If these issues are not addressed, we'll go through the same problem. He mentioned Didi Dramani. What did he suffer when he was with the national team, the under 20, and also when he went to the women's team? You understand? Then we end up destroying our people, thinking that our people are not good enough. But because the structure, the fundamentals are so wrong that the man did not get the sort of environment to be able to do his work. Look, before the appointment of Milo, I said, look, bringing Milo, well, I don't have a problem with him, but then it will resolve our problem. This man has been knocking on our doors, and I've personally engaged with him before. Norton, the former Tottenham, Newcastle.
Chris Hughton.
Chris Newton. Look, he is of Ghanaian descent. And I discussed with him the development of Ghana football. And because he has been in the UK, he has been in the Premier League. Because the Premier League, you don't just handle the first team. There are things you do. You take care of the development of the lower teams. And you every day monitor the work of the coaches and the managers who are handling the lower teams. So that if they recommend, or at any point in time, like now that we are having problems, some teams are having problems raising 18 players to sit on the bench. Any player that will be recommended to you, But the under 23 or under 19 coach, you yourself know that player is worth taking a position. Like Manchester United, Elanga is playing today. You think if Raf have not seen Elanga or has not monitored Elanga or has Elanga not been recommended to him by the under 20 coach, he will have chosen Elanga? No. That is what we need to do. I'm not just only coming to handle team to play qualifying series. When we finish with qualifying series, I can go enjoy my life, enjoy holidays, enjoy the bright sun of Ghana, and the next qualifying series, we call players again, 2 weeks to the match, and then we play, and that's all. These are the things we have been doing all along, and it is wrong. We must have a plan, a system, where we have a standby team that at any point in time when Godfrey, your form dips, you are out. Nilante comes in. If Nilante forms deep, Animle is in, or Jerome is in, somebody, that is what the national teams are. When was the last time you saw the German national team being wholly changed like that? Between 2 years, you and I, we have used 161 players for our national team. Which country prepares a team like that?
That's a really high number. 161 in 2 years.
Yes. 161 different players in 2 years. How can you have a team?
No good.
How can you have a team? So we should sit down and know what we are planning, what we are doing. Because you cannot plant cocoyam and get cassava. We are not doing the right thing. My final point on this is that, look, our league cannot continue to be run the way it's being run and hope to have players to play in the national team. I'm being frank with you.
Yeah.
I'm being frank with you. I talk about technical system, and I'm happy Nimle said it. One of the key issues we said was that if they develop a technical system conducive and convenient with Ghana, all our local clubs from the Premier League to Division 2 are going to be going through the same system, because the technical director of the FA will have to run courses for all the coaches in these leagues. In fact, go there themselves, attach himself to the teams for about 2 weeks. He will be in House of Folk. About 2 weeks, he will move to Kotoko. About 2 weeks, he will go to Great Olympics, Liberty, and that's what he will be doing to make sure that the coaches of those teams are really doing what the technical director of the FA has mandated them to do.
All right.
Nimle is worried about Minta sitting at the FA there. What about if you're Lepet, or what's the name? Is it Lepet? What about if, are you sure he's even listening to Minta?
There you go. No. There you go, Honorable. That is the problem.
We can't
Are you sure he's even listening to Minta?
We can't
But
find
why
him.
should we, if we have Minta, why should we go and bring Lepet?
That is the issue. That is the
If
issue.
we have Minta, what is in the head of Lepet that is not in the head of Minta? He's a professor, for Christ's sake.
Of course.
He knows how to do research. He knows how to be able to put a report together. He knows how to teach. So what is Lepet sitting there doing and taking our money, wasting our money? When Lepet, since he came, what has been his
contribution?
Input?
He recommended a third division
into
player.
The development of the game at the local level. Has he even visited one coast football match to watch one coast to see how we even bring up, see the pitches? Because the technical director should be the one who should be able to say the things that Edemansa is talking about.
Yeah.
Our coast pitches are bad. Can we do something about infrastructure? Can we do that's the work of the technical director. He must make recommendations on the technical development of the game to the Ghana Football Association. He can't sit in that office and just be talking about blaster players, who is playing where. That is not his job. And I'm so happy when you when I talk about the restructuring of our management committees, I'm happy Jerome raised it. They are not necessary, waste of money. And you know the problem I had with the former FA? Because people will influence players to ask for more bonuses, because management committee members will also benefit from the bonus. coefficient and all those things that came up in the last football administration. It's all because of management committee members. If we avoid those things, we will cut down on the expenditure on the national teams. And we'll be able to use that resources for the development of the game at the coast level, at the Division 3 level, Division 2 level, Division 1 level, and even have something to do with the infrastructure development of the country. We're wasting too much resources on unnecessary associations, organizations, and committees that do not really directly benefit us.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Neilante van der Poy, former Minister of Sports, currently Member of Parliament for the DODOU. He has wrapped up the conversation. And thank you very much, Jerome Moche and Franklin Kujo, for joining me on the first part of this. We will go to the tragedy that has happened in Appiate, where some 13 people have been confirmed dead. The first report said 17, and 59 have been left with varying degrees of injury. We'll come back and discuss the incidents there with our next panel. Keep watching The Big Issue. Welcome back to The Big Issue as we continue to discuss the tragedy that has happened at Appiate, and you can join us 0549 986 996. That's the WhatsApp line. 0550585832, 0549 986 996, and then 0550585832. A couple of messages that have come in this morning on the first part of the conversation. I will read those. Prince Henry says, the GFA president, technical bench, and Coach Milo must be sacked. We can't continue wasting taxpayers' money like this when we need money to pay NAPCO trainees and fix our hospital beds. I don't think CK Akune Kwesiapia would have been allowed to continue to coach the Black Stars after this abysmal performance. Kofi and Tema says, Godfrey, so what were the benefits of the normalization committee? We still have an FA president whose team plays in the Premier League and National Team Management Committee members with vested interest in teams competing in the National League. We need a total wipeout at the FA and face the consequences from FIFA and use that to rebuild football. I totally associate myself with the views that have been said on this platform. The FA president must resign because his interviews in the media have not been good. Okay, that's interesting. Babamu from Tamale. The last part of your message I will not read because I disagree with you on. Agompion from Hohoi says, personally, I think we should finish with the World Cup playoffs. We should have finished the World Cup playoffs before deciding on whether to sack Milo or not. As we are on that, I think some of the technical teams should be fired as well. He goes on to say we should sack Richard Kensington. Says Joseph Adoboy says, you cannot reap where you have not sown, period. Past glory does not win you trophies. William from Ablekuma says, Comoros just saved the public purse. Some of us stopped following the Black Stars a while back. Some of us are extremely happy they exited. Anyagri Gideon from Garu says, for me, I don't think the coach is to blame. He arrived 4 months ago and we expected a miracle from him. He is gone, but the problems will still persist. And then this one says, Milo is sacked, but that's not the only problem. We need to check our administrative system, structures, etc., and player selection. This is Xylix doing, listening to us in London. And this one also says, Godfred, I think the current players are good enough. The problem is the formation. They don't have any strikers and they keep making too many unnecessary passes. That is Kweku from La Paz putting on his coaching cap this morning. Anane from Awoshi in Accra says, good morning to you all. The GFA hierarchy must go as the head coach has been thrown out. How can you win a cup when you don't respect and cherish your local players? Where are the junior teams where we promote them? The whole GFA is a banking entity for making money. Oh, Ghana, Black Stars. So those are the thoughts that have come. You can keep sharing yours. Like I said, 0549 986 996 and 0550 585832. And I think, okay, this one also came in from Erabna Esiam, CEO, Francis Esiam, CEO of the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company. She says, our hearts are broken, but all is not lost. The long-term approach of building a formidable Black Stars team should be considered. The operations of the GFA structure must be strictly enforced by appropriate internal rules and regulations. And this one says, I miss the coefficient in AFCON 2020. Okay, that's interesting from Madam Francis Esiam. Good morning to you, Madam Esiam. Okay, so let's go to Bogoso, and by that I mean Appiate in the Western region, where we've had the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, lead a government delegation. now speaking to pressmen on Friday, says that some 179 families had been directly affected by the incident, and he's also given assurances. He donated 200,000 Ghana cedis to some of the affected families. We're told that 300 displaced persons are being catered for at the Bogoso Catholic Parish Relief Center, and the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources has also been there. And there have been a couple of updates. We've been told, for instance, that the Minerals Inspector, the Minerals Commission, has been interdicted for this, and then also Maxam's company, which is the company that was carting the explosives that led to the incident, they've had their license suspended whilst investigations continue. We're told that a committee has also been formed to look into this. But let me get now to my panelists on this. I'll be doing this with Dr. Tony Orbin, founder and president of the African Institute for Extractive Industries, a long-time personality in the mining sector. I'll be doing. Franklin Kujo is still with us. Kweku Afari is technical director of WACAM, that's the Wasa Association of Communities Affected by Mining, and Dr. Bright Oponwefum is a lecturer at UMAT in the Mining Engineering Department. But I will begin this conversation from Dr. Tony Orbin. Dr. Orbin, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
And thank you for inviting me, and good morning to your viewers as well.
It's a pleasure to have you this morning. And I guess the first question I'll ask is, this is not something that happens regularly, is it? Some say this is a freak accident.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's not something that happens regularly, and it must not happen, regularly. It must not happen at all. So what happened? It's very unfortunate. Was terrible, very sad, and I tell you, I am very close to the place. My hometown is about 30 minutes from the incident site, and it's not comfortable at all.
But you have experience in these matters. If you can walk us a bit through what the normal process or procedure would be for carting of these items like explosives and other dangerous items, what would normally be the process?
Okay, first of all, the whole management of explosives, including its transportation, is guided by the LI 2177 as a legislative instrument that guides it. So it's quite clear what one has to do when one is dealing with these explosive materials. In the case of what occurred 2 days ago, one needed to know how the packaging of the explosives were done, how the loading was done, whether the package did not have any spaces, any leakages, any exposures around. And in transporting them, the law requires the driver to be competent, to be licensed, and to be in a state of mind that can transport a material like that. It is a special material, explosive. They are like, one could say, in a very ordinary parlance, it could be like a bomb. So whoever is transporting it must be someone who is competent enough to do so, and the law requires that. Now, in moving a vehicle from one point to another, there's a requirement for an escort. And even though the law just says there should be a police escort, there is an industry practice of what an escort vehicle is. An escort vehicle is usually, it can be any vehicle, but normally very light vehicle, small vehicle with a flag that has, I think it's an orange or red color that leads the vehicle carrying this explosives. And then there should be another behind, just to scan the environment and to inform the driver or those who are within the area of the dangers that could happen. I mean, that an explosive is being conveyed. So the law is clear. The practice has been that there should be an escort. The vehicle must be in good condition. The packaging must be in a certain condition. and then and the maximum care must be taken in transporting explosives from one point to another, and it is guided strictly by rule and of course practice as well.
And in your experience, are these rules and regulations adhered to by the companies that are involved in this?
Well, I would say yes, not because I've personally been following that, because in my role I wasn't dealing directly in these areas, even though I supervised them. I mean, sort of as a CEO of the Minerals Commission, it came under me. But I would say that because there has not been any major fatality arising out of the transportation of explosive, one would say yes. But in our country, sometimes when nothing has happened, when no major incident has occurred, we think we are doing the right thing. But these rules are there, these requirements are there in anticipation that this could happen at a point. Or, so the law anticipated that in transporting these materials, there could be something like this. That is why it is very careful in designing and dictating which steps to be taken to get to that point. So I would say, by and large, there's been an adherence to that. But this incident of 2 days ago has really destroyed all the cautions that we've taken in the past.
Now, you know the area well. Like you said, it's about 30 minutes. What kind of area is this? Is it a heavily populated area? What sort of area is it?
Look, my brother, I mean, let me just quickly say that the loss of one life is one too many. No life must be lost because somebody is doing his job for profit. No life must be lost. But one could also say that if this had happened in Bogoso town, and which is Appiate is about 10 minutes from Bogoso on the Bordia Road. If you are going to Kumasi, those who have used the Takwa Kumasi Road, or who have come from Kumasi, Wase Kwapong Road, Bogoso is just about 10 minutes. So if this incident had occurred, God forbid, in Bogoso, it would have been more fatal, because Bogoso is heavily populated. There's market along the line. I mean, when you get to the Bogoso Township itself, there's a major market there. And if it had happened there, we would have been, in a difficult situation. So Appiate is just about 10 minutes from Bogoso. It's a small village, but that is also very close to Bogoso. 10 minutes not far away. So it's just like a growth of Bogoso into that area. We've just been lucky that the fatality numbers that we are hearing probably is smaller than could have been. But as I said, one life is one too many. One life lost is one. It shouldn't occur at all.
I quite understand that, but also look at the responses so far. And one that came late that I find a bit informative is from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, where the minister has directed the CEO of the Minerals Commission to interdict the Chief Inspector of Mines with immediate effect pending the outcome of the ongoing investigation. Furthermore, the CEO of the Minerals Commission with immediate effect has suspended the registration of Maxam Company Limited with the Minerals Commission, thereby precluding the company from the manufacture, transportation, and or supply of explosives for mining operations pending the outcome of the investigations into the matter. What do you make of the response so far on this side before we talk about the humanitarian side?
Well, I think when the incident occurred, I had the opportunity to speak to one of your colleagues and in the media, and I just called for an immediate investigation into the accident. And the investigation would be to find out what caused that the event. Why did it happen? What went wrong? And then if there was some negligence somewhere, the culprit will be brought to book. And if it wasn't negligence but a mistake on the part of some. I mean, whatever the cause is, we should understand and know, and then take action against people who are responsible. I mean, I think that being done is very good, that the minister has instituted an investigation into it is very good. Now, whether the interdiction of the chief inspector of mines is very necessary, I think that, yes, if it is for the integrity of the investigation, then I don't have a problem.
But let me just a bit of education, Dr. Obin. Who is he? Why would he be the one to bear the brunt?
Now, if you look at the law, I mean, it is just a regulatory position that he has. If you look at the law, he is the supervisor of the manufacturer. He's supposed to be the supervisor and manufacturer of the manufacturer, and be in charge of supervising the transportation of the material. So it's like they put you in an administrative position with a responsibility. Sometimes when you are appointed in an administrative position, they say they give responsibilities to lower officers, and then the same letter will tell you that, but you are responsible for their activities, even though you will not be on daily basis be doing the work or supervising the movement of vehicles. You bear the brunt when there is any negative occurrence, unfortunately. So, but it must be very clear that the interdiction is not an admission that the chief executive officer has committed any crime or he is culpable. Now, if it is just to make sure that he stands aside, provide the information, and that he will not be working whilst providing information and whilst sitting in committee meeting and all that, I think that may not be, maybe just an administrative move which would bring him back if he's not found culpable. So from that point, you would want to look at two things. Is the minister taking up a knee-jerk reaction or trying to please people by sort of making people scapegoats? However you look at it, but for me, if the objective of that is the integrity, then by all means, it is okay. Just the integrity of the investigations, I don't have any problem with that. And the
suspension of the registration of the company, Maxam?
I mean, he gave some reasons for that. In a situation like this, you would want to understand, and one would have, there are two things. Either you wait to investigate and then come out with the findings and say, look, Maxam, you were wrong, and therefore you pay for it. And paying could be withdrawal of your license, of penalties and all that. So in that sense, one can look at it from that angle. But one will also say that if this fatal incident has occurred, the company is still producing and transporting these explosives to other mining sites. So how about if the same process, which we don't know yet, leads to the same outcome, like we have seen at Appiate, which even though it is less likely to occur. But I think it is the sense behind it. Now, the other question would be, what happened to those mining companies who require the same services for them to produce? Is that going to mean that they are not going to get, because their licenses has been taken? Are we going to say that because that incident happened, we are not going to use explosive in the mines? In the short run, no, we can't do that. So it's a dicey position which the minister has taken. I would have thought that there could be special caution to them, and then a strict application of the rules for them to, if the mining companies need that to do their work. After all, let's not forget, government has major interest in the mining companies. The government receives significant revenue from them, and I don't know what it means by suspending them and production and revenue and all that. So I would say that if it goes to the integrity of the investigation, sorry, After all, people have lost their lives. After all, you have a whole township razed to the ground. So what's about one person being asked to provide information, or one company being asked to wait until something has been done before they come back to their business?
Let me go to Dr. Bright Opon Efum, who is a lecturer at the Mining and Engineering Department at UMAT. Dr. Opon Efum, good morning. Thank you for joining us on The Big Issue.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Yeah, let's get a bit technical. You would know about explosives. When you heard about the incident, what were your initial thoughts on what could have happened?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. My greetings to the honorable panelists, my own boss, Dr. Tonyoben, and my sincere condolences to our people at Appiate and the Bogoso environs, and I pray our hearts are with them. So the first thing that came to mind when I heard that was, what was the speed of the vehicle? Then two, was the vehicle moving with an escort? Did we have the police with the vehicle that could have secured the place and prevented people from getting closer to the incident? So these two actually came to my mind, that what really happened was the vehicle moving at top speed, that it couldn't come to a halt when he chanced on the incident, and also was there any police officer around that could have prevented people from getting closer to the incident?
Now, what kind of explosives are used, and what would lead to a reaction like what we saw?
Yeah, so in a typical mining industry, we have different kinds of explosives and different classes. Some are high strength explosives, some are low, some too are very, very sensitive, others are less sensitive. So when you look at, in this case, so we may have detonators. Detonators are very, very sensitive. So they are like the metallic cap explosives. And we may also have the boosters that help the detonators to be to increase the strength of the explosives. Then we have the bulk explosives, that is the ammonium nitrate-based explosives, where in this case, we were unfortunate to have the ammonium nitrate-based explosive that was involved in the incident. So usually the strength of the explosive and the destructive nature of the explosive is based on the class of the explosive and the sensitivity of the explosive. So in this case, which was ammonium nitrate fuel oil, it means that it was already prepared explosive. And usually, because it is an explosive, it's liable to detonate when you introduce certain external factors to it. The first one could be friction. The second one could be impact. The third could be static energy, like electricity or high wind. And the last one could be heat. So these four major sources are able to trigger detonation of an explosive.
And looking at what we have gleaned so far, any of these four factors could have been responsible, because the car was on fire. From what we've been told, there was impact, so anything could have happened. But talk to us about the impact of the explosion we saw, where basically an entire town wiped out. A crater that size, the road split into two.
Yes, when you look at this kind of explosion, it actually emanated from the bulk explosive, that's ammonium nitrate fuel oil explosive, gathered together at one place. So when you bomb all of them together at one place, it then behaves as a bomb. So the mining professionals, we call it a bomb. Now, the effects of a bomb detonating is extremely very high. What it means is that for a particular radius or a sphere of area around the explosive would all receive that kind of impact. So we saw the impacts going to the ground and creating that kind of crater, which will be around 5 to 6 meters, looking at the width of the road. And we also saw the expansion of the impact to the sides, that's the lateral expansion. Now, that kind of explosion, we could even see that the vehicle disappeared. Yes. What it means is that it was highly deflagrated and it scattered all the pieces of vehicle, the metallic, everything, any rock around, anything was thrown from the incident. That makes it more dangerous because somebody may be far away from the incident and will still receive this kind of impact. So that makes the whole thing very, very serious. Because the explosive was acting as a bomb, the effect was very, very high, unfortunately.
All right. Hold on for me, Dr. Brightopon, as well. Thank you very much for the description of the technical description of what perhaps happened and what could have caused it. Kweku Afari is the technical director of the Wasa Association of Communities Affected by Mining. Welcome. Mr. Afari, morning.
Good morning, Alfred.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And I guess my first question would be how mining communities engage with the companies that operate in their space. If you can give us maybe a bit of a background, are they educated? Are they sensitized on the operations of the mining companies? What to do, what not to do, depending on the circumstances?
Yes, good morning to our viewers and listeners, and also welcome expresses its deepest condolences to all victims of this tragic event. And to your question, Godfred, this has been an issue that Wakam has been advocating for the past decade. And we've constantly been hammering on the issue of communities' right to free, prior, and informed consent. And the whole aim of this principle is that communities are empowered with information on the activities that these mining companies embark on, so that communities can make informed decisions in instances of such situations, if and when they do occur. So we've had experiences in the past and present where mining communities, both those affected by large-scale and small-scale mining activities, have constantly complained of the lack of information sharing by these mining companies and regulatory agencies in which they operate. And that in most instances, when these activities are being carried out, aside the initial stage of maybe the company entering, where they do have these environmental impact assessments and they do have these kind of entry form of engagement with these communities. When the mining activity starts, very minimal information is channeled out to these community people. And this incident can also, and the way people behaved, we can attribute most of the death and the victims who are injured to not having enough knowledge about circumstances such as this. My reason being that Bogoso, Takwa, Appiate, Wasa, Kupong, this is a route that most mining companies play, because we do have about 7 or 8 mining companies in these areas, and most of them are large-scale mining companies who are operating in these areas, who should constantly educate these community people, their host communities, of the dangers of of these activities that they embark upon. But Godfred, the surprising thing is that yes, we do have this explosive occurring, but we do have some mining communities and companies where companies are operating right now, where the distance between the mining companies and their sites, the explosive sites, the mine site that they are currently engaging in, is less than the 500-meter radius that the LI, the explosives LI, provides for. So, in a gist, it's an amalgamation of issues. One, communities not being well informed on these dangers. Secondly, also the regulation of these provisions. How well are we regulating these mining companies in their activities? Because if companies and communities, the nearness proximity is less than what is required by law, and these companies are still operating, then, Godfrey, there is a need for our regulatory agencies to act in the interest of these communities.
It's interesting, the perspective you've brought to this, because one of the first questions I got was from a colleague of mine who was saying the rules on the transport of explosives are clear to the mining firms, but are residents in the vicinity of mines aware? Has any sensitization taken place? The people around should have been aware that the burning truck could have explosives, no? That's something that a colleague of mine sent in. But let's also look at the benefits of having mines around these communities. And on Friday, for instance, my colleague Bernard Avler was a bit surprised that, okay, this happens here, and even the matter of hospitals, for instance, in areas that are so naturally endowed, we had to go far to get access to hospitals. We had to go to maybe Takwa, we had to go to Pristia, get to Konfanoche, because there aren't a lot of big hospitals around these places. What has been the engagements like between residents in mining communities and these companies?
Yes, Godfrey, this issue that you just hit on, when you go to a place like Kenyasi is a mining community where companies, Newmont has been mining there for almost 15 years or more now. The community still doesn't have a mainstream hospital. It's still operating more of a clinic kind of service to the community. And the population of Kenyasi is constantly growing. It's growing. When you go to Bogoso, I'm not very sure whether they even have a mainstream hospital. And for that reason, they needed to transport some injured persons to Pristia and to Takwa. So these are issues that mining communities have constantly been asking for, that you should upgrade our social amenities as well, because mining comes with lots and invasion of people into communities. And when people invade these communities, they travel with their diseases, they travel with whatever issues that they have. And so the level of the money that we are taking from these communities, I think it does not, when you really match them as to the benefits that these communities are getting from the mining activities, I think to a large extent, our communities are not benefiting. And this is not an issue that most of us are getting to know for the first time. Mining communities are complaining constantly of having very bad water sources within their areas. Most mining communities are complaining about polluted water bodies. Most mining communities are complaining about so many social vices, bad roads. Until recently, you'd get the Obuase Kumasi Road so bad. So when it comes to the amenities and the benefits that our communities are deriving from the mining activities that we are undertaking, I think that there are lots of question marks, which I believe government should, as a matter of urgency, concentrate on making sure that these revenues that we are extracting from these communities reflect in their standard of living.
And let me come to Dr. Tony Obin again on this question that I raised with Kweku Afare on the sensitization of communities around mining companies and whether this is done, because then do they know what to do? Do they know what to avoid when they hear a siren, say that this is happening at this time, and that, okay, this is our schedule. At 10 a.m. every day, we will pass through here with explosives. So at this time, nobody should be here. Is that something that happens, Dr. Obin?
Well, let me say that this could have been done in some of the big mining companies, their communities, but it is not enough. In some companies, the communities around it are organized into safety group. There are occasional sensitization and all that, but that's not enough. It must be regular. And of course, when you're transporting a volatile material like the explosive that was being transported, it could even pass through a non-mining community. The incident could have happened in a non-mining community. So I think I totally agree that we need to sensitize and educate the communities along the highways, especially the highways that are used by these mining-related materials, the transportation of mining-related materials. The occasional participation of communities in safety competition may not be enough. In fact, it is not enough. We need to do more. The mining industry needs to do more in sensitizing and educating community members along the lines. And I totally agree. I know that occasionally when they're doing the national competitions and local competitions, you have communities also engaging in similar activities just to demonstrate their understanding of safety in the area. But I think these are all events that take place. They are all one-day events that occur. But I think it must be a regular activity with the mining companies.
Thank you.
Or the industry generally.
Franklin Kujo, not the best piece of news we've heard this week, this tragedy. Your thoughts on how this has been handled so far?
Well, sorry, I think, the experts have spoken, and I think the law exactly must be followed. To the extent that the security services have responded effectively and immediately, they deserve some commendation for that. I think this is an unfortunate incident, and everything must be done in order to restore those who have lost valuables, restore their dignity, and those who are injured must be seen to be healed.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Thank you very much, Franklin Kujo, on that. We'll take a break right now, and then when we return, the big issue will segue into another conversation. We'll be right back. Okay, so we are back, and we'll wrap up this conversation with education because there's an update. Last week, we spent quite a bit of time discussing the new transitional calendar of the Ministry of Education that was supposed to be implemented. And we discussed the pros and cons. We had Kwesi Kwarteng, the PRO of the ministry here, and then we also had Kofi Asare from the Africa Education Watch. But post that, there was a lot of resistance to this by the teacher unions who felt they had not been consulted adequately and felt that the proposal to revert to a semester rather than a trimester needed to be reversed until further consultation had been done. Several meetings were held between NAT, NAGRAT, CCT, and TEU, and the teacher unions in education basically stood by their calls for the withdrawal of the transitional academic calendar. And it looks like their insistence has paid off because there's a statement from the Ministry of Education on the school calendar. I'll just go through that before I bring in my guests. I'll be talking to Dr. Mike Boachi-Adam, Director General, Institute for Educational Planning and Administration at the University of Cape Coast, and Peter Pate-Anti, who's the Executive Director at the Institute for Education Studies. So, per the new statement from the Ministry of Education, says that it may be recalled that the Ministerial Committee on School Calendar issued a calendar for the current academic year indicating that kindergarten to JHS was to be based on the semester system. Following the directives to commence the semester system, the ministry has received representation from a section of the public and key educational stakeholders to reinstate the trimester system. After further consultation on the issue, the Honourable Minister for Education has directed that the calendar for kindergarten to JHS school for junior high school for the current academic year should revert to the trimester system. Consequently, the dates for the various school terms for kindergarten to JHS are as follows. First term, 18th January to 14th April, that's 12 weeks. 15th April to 9th May is vacation. Second term, 10th May to 18th August, that's also 14 weeks. Then 19th August to 12th September 2022 is vacation. Third term, 13th September to 22nd December, that's 14 weeks. And this is signed by Felix Bedu, Press Secretary to the Ministry of Education. So that is the update. And I guess I will start with Dr. Mike Boakye-Adom, who's the Director General of the Institute for Educational Planning and Administration at the University of Cape Coast. Dr. Boakye-Adom, all this is rather confusing, isn't it? Last week, the ministry was quite clear in its mind that this was the way to go. A week after, here we are, not the way to go because teachers said so. What's going on here?
Well, thank you very much. And let me say good morning to your viewers and your listeners. Good morning, Accra. Good morning, Ghana. I would say that from where we started, and where we are now, I wouldn't describe it as confusing. I would rather say that consensus building has won the day. And at the end of the day, it is not an issue of somebody has won and somebody has lost. It's an issue of the leadership of the Ministry of Education, the leadership of the Ghana Education Service, the leadership of the teacher unions, and the civil society organizations coming together to arrive at a consensus. And for me, that is exciting. Secondly, the biggest issue is not about the academic calendar. The biggest issues are the issues and challenges that we have in the educational system. And I recommend that we spend our resources and efforts moving forward to look at some of these issues. I think the issue of the semester and tri-semester has ended. And beyond today, we should let it go and continue with the bigger issues.
But if it wasn't a big issue, why were all teacher unions up in arms against it? And when you say other issues are more important, what are those issues?
So we have many issues. We have issues with early grade, assessment of our pupils in the primary school. Only 2% of primary 2 students are proficient in any language, including the traditional languages and English. We have issues of about 70% of WASSE candidates not qualifying to access tertiary education. We have issues of only 6.33% of school administrators have certification and qualification administration. We have the issue of D7, WASSE D7 in core subject, not getting you to any tertiary educational institution. My point is that now that we have resolved this issue of semester and tri-semester, it has ended. And we should look at other issues that will drive the educational agenda of the country.
But you don't think that this one affects some of these issues that you have spoken about with regards to contact hours? Because those were some of the issues that came up.
Yes, it does. But my point is that we have arrived at a consensus. It started with the semester. It has ended with the tri-semester, back to the tri-semester. So the issue has ended. That's my point. I'm not saying that I'm saying that it has been resolved and we should let sleeping dogs lie so that we look at the other issues.
All right. I will get back to you on this. Let me hear whether Peter Appiate Anti agrees on whether this is over and done with. He's the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies. Mr. Appiate Anti, good morning.
Good morning, sir, and good morning to your viewers and listeners.
Thank you.
And good morning to my boss, Dr. Boakye.
Yes.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Peter.
Yeah, sure.
Peter, what are your thoughts on this? Dr. Boakye-Adom seems to say, well, this is no longer an issue. a solution has been found, although we will see whether the solution has indeed been found. And perhaps now is the time to move on to another, to deal with more pressing issues that exist in the system. But my question still remains. A week ago, the ministry was clear in its mind. This week, it has reversed that decision. It does say a lot. It's not something you can ignore. This was a significant policy shift in 5 days.
Yeah, sure. For me, we shouldn't be here. This thing should not have happened, because those who manage our education understand, or should understand, that in trying to bring about different policies, there are processes that these policies should go through. Now, if you sidestep these processes and you decide to push down the throat some of these interventions or policies, you would end up where we have ended. By this time, for me, the ministry should be apologizing to the parents and the teachers, because we were told, frankly, that this thing would not change by the deputy minister. In fact, we were even informed that this was the first time a national calendar committee have been set up by the ministry, and the minister was loud about this. He said that this is the first time they have set up a national calendar committee, and the calendar committee was to make sure that the inconsistencies, the erratic nature of our academic calendar, and all the challenges that have engulfed the academic calendar over the years would be addressed. So if at the end of the day they present something and the teacher unions, I mean those who matter most when it comes to the implementation of these things, are saying they were not consulted, then we have a problem at hand. And that has been characteristic of our educational policies over the years. That is why I'm saying that this issue has ended truly, but it cuts across most of the things that we'll be discussing in the education sector. For some of us, we see the managers of education think consultation is the same as information given. In most instances that they have said that they have consulted stakeholders, they have consulted teachers and other people, you end up hearing or knowing that they just gave them this kind of information. But if you've gone through policy process and policy analysis, you understand that consultation is a very, very detailed process that you have to go through, thinking about alternatives and other things before you end with whatever final decision that is feasible for it to be implemented. They didn't go through all this, and because of the backlash and the pressure that have been mounted on them, UTAG is on strike. TEU just returned from strike. There are a lot of industrial actions ongoing. The teacher unions are threatening to go on strike. Because of this, they decided to just revert to the old system. It means that this was something that was not well thought through. It was something that they just decided to present to us, maybe to score a point for their own personal reasons. And that is why we would need to call them out on this one and make sure that these things do not happen. You cannot do what the Gans call matra makwe with educational policies in this country. You put the lives of young, innocent children at stake. And sadly, most of these kids that would have gone through the system, their parents are not in the upper class or the middle class. You see those in the primary school, the junior high school, by the structure of school choice system. Most of the kids in these schools are those from the lower class and then the very, very low class families. Those in the middle and then the upper class, they find their children in the private schools. And they were even running the trimester system. So they were just putting out something that will not suit our kids, that will not suit the interests of the teachers, and they have now backed down on it. We need to call them out and make sure that they do not repeat some of these things in other policies that pertains to the future of these innocent kids.
But let me ask this, Peter. There are those who say change is difficult, and the unions perhaps were adamant about change because they are used to working in a certain way. But perhaps, yes, you're right, consensus should have been sought and all. But maybe the ministry's data from its research also indicated that the semester was the best way to go. Would it not have also been good to perhaps let the science work, the advancements work, rather than, well, you haven't spoken to us about it, so whether it's good or not, we don't want to hear about it?
No, I think that the ministry, if they did any research pertaining to the semester system, they should put that report out for all of us to read and then get an understanding of what really they did. I say this because I have spoken to a number of teachers on the field, and they said that when the semester system was introduced at the junior high school level. Now, let me give a background to the semester system. You know, we were running the trimester system at the pre-tertiary level. Now, when we were hit with COVID, we decided, no, when we started free SHS, we decided to now run the semester system because of double track, because of the alternating years for the green and the gold track and all those things. You needed a longer period to be able to do double track. So that is why we introduced the semester system at the senior high school level. Now, the teachers accepted it because it made proper sense. Like it was a potent reason to introduce a structure like that. Now, when we got to JHS, the reason was that we've used we spent almost 10 months in the house because of COVID. The students have lost a chunk of what they were supposed to do in school. And because of that, we needed to now introduce a semester system that will grant the students a longer period of time to cover what they have lost. And remember, those kids were supposed to write their BEC at the end of the year, that according to the academic calendar. So we needed to do the semester system. The teachers agitated, but at the end of the day, they agreed because the reasoning made sense. We need more time for the students to cover what they have lost. You have spent 10 months in the house without any fruitful academic work. It made sense. Now, what is the reason for now shifting it to the primary school? No tangible reason. They are talking about absenteeism that the children at the primary school were having because the semester system made those at the senior high schools vacate early or vacate late than those at the primary school level. They are saying that some parents were complaining about the pressure on them, and the reasons that they were giving are not reasons scientific enough for you to change such a tried and tested system like a trimester system that we have run in our jurisdiction for all these years. And that's why I'm saying that what they did was not based on any data, was not based on any science, because our own checks reveals that teachers at the junior high school level complained a lot. They said that after 10 weeks of spending time with the students now exhibited traits of tiredness. Productivity at that level will now become low. Learning would not naturally occur. Students were not coming to school because they were tired. You can't keep the kids in school for that long period of time looking at their cognitive development level. It is not done anywhere. And that is why we most of us in the sector felt that no, you don't need to go by that tangent. And I don't think we have been proven right. So they never did any research. And if they did, they should put that result out for all of us to interrogate it. The change is good so far as it reflects the aspirations and the needs of the people who the change is supposed to benefit. What was the point in trying to introduce a change that you yourself, you have no control over when it comes to implementation? What was the point in trying to introduce a change where those who do the implementation do not agree with the change that you are trying to bring? That is not how we do policy implementation in any part of the world. And that is why we think that the backing down is good, but we should call them out so that they do not repeat certain things in other policies that we have in the sector.
And from the statements released by the ministry, are you clear in your mind that this is a complete back off, or there might be this is to buy time to engage more and perhaps bring this back? Or you are clear in your mind that the way our educational system simply works will not have room for a semester system?
May I react before you move to the next level, if I'm permitted?
Okay, sure. I was engaging because you felt you did not have anything else to say, but you can come back.
Well, no, I didn't say I didn't have anything else to say. That was introductory remarks. Yes.
Okay.
So I think there's a difference. There's a difference between no consultation and limited consultation or inadequate consultation. From what we hear from the leadership of the teacher unions, it appears that in their estimation, consultation wasn't enough. My point is very simple, and I will use a different approach.
Okay.
I think in describing this scenario, we also need to be measured with the choice of words and with language, because language also matters. As we run this commentary, as we make our comments in relation to the shift from semester to tri-semester, kids in the school are also listening to us. Our children are also listening to us. Some of them are on social media and they are reading some of the comments that we are seeing on social media, as if we are fighting and want to find out who wins and who loses. I believe that is not the spirit of this conversation. At the end of the day, some consensus have been reached, and I would rather comment, instead of calling them out, I would rather commend them for boldly stepping up to re-engage the teacher union, leadership of the teacher unions, and the civil service, and the other organizations to arrive at this consensus. And I still believe that beyond this, let's look forward. Let's look ahead and see how we can plan within this academic calendar. At the end of the day, it is not the semester or the tri-semester that will bring some increase in student performance. It is not tri-semester or semester that will bring some excitement within the classrooms. Many Ghanaian classrooms are boring. And if you ask our students and our people, they'll confirm. How do we? No, it's boring. It's a fact.
I agree with you, Dr. Boachiado. It's true.
Yes, it's boring. And it is not because we are running a semester or we are running a tri-semester that will create that excitement in the classroom. If you are running a semester and you are running a 20-week semester, if we have the skills and strategies to sustain students' enthusiasm and interest within the classroom space, 20 weeks wouldn't be too much. It gets boring after 5 weeks if we don't vary the way we teach. Now we have moved from objective-based curriculum to competence-based curriculum.
Yeah.
And we are still teaching, asking what is education administration, and I'm using my area as an example. What is education leadership? What are the various types of education leadership? We are not giving the kids the opportunity to even explore spaces outside the classroom, where engagement within communities, engagement in community service, engagement outside the classroom will help us to develop in the kids the 21st century skills and competencies. So my point is that it doesn't matter whether it's semester or tri-semester. We must sustain students' interest. We must create a classroom environment where kids who have even dropped out of school will be willing to come back, because the story that they are hearing about the classroom environment is now more exciting. That is what we are looking at. And that is why I indicated that I don't want to spend too much time and resources on tri-semester and semester. Let us go back and prepare ourselves. Let us create a very innovative school environment where school heads, teachers, administrators, policymakers will be more innovative and create systems that will promote the growth and sustenance of the 21st century skills and competence that we want to create in the school system. And again, let me emphasize that the tri-semester or the semester alone will not do the trick.
Yeah, so can I continue?
Continue, Peter.
Yeah, so the problem my boss I seem to have with what he's trying to say is that he tries to isolate this incident and want us to believe that this is just one out of so many situations that have happened that we are experiencing this. And I'm saying that is not the case. This has been
Peter, I am not isolating it. What I'm saying, what I've said so far is in the context of either a tri-semester or a semester. So I'm not doing any isolation here.
Yes. So the point I'm trying to make is that this is characteristics of educational policy in this country. And I hope you agree with me that in most instances, we have good policies. When it comes to implementation, because of lack of adequate consultation, we end up finding it difficult to implement the policies as they are supposed to be implemented. And I can name about thousands of these policies in the education sector that we have not been able to get the buy-in. In education planning administration, you deal with policies, and you know that the various stages that policy planning goes through. And you know very well, or we all know that in our sector, it's hardly do you see the managers of education walking through that particular process of rigorous engagement before a policy is finally announced. We are even now talking about STEM academies. Have you ever seen any document on these STEM academies, a policy paper from the ministry trying to project the reason, the challenges that they have seen, the reason why they want to do this, and what they think this will solve? They don't do these things in our sector. And that is why this particular trimester issue presents us an opportunity for us to call them out and let them understand that you do not make policies, especially in the education sector, whose effect on the child can be very detrimental, just like that, without recourse to the proper laid down, scientifically tested stages of running through a policy. And that's the point I'm trying to make. So we can decide to even settle this semester system. But in all our policies that have been implemented in the education sector, you would agree with me that we have had this challenge with the managers of our education system. And we need to use this as an example to call them out and let them understand and appreciate that research data is what drives policy decisions, especially in education. And when your data and your research does not support what you want to do, you shelve it and you go by the trend, which is the time-tested practices that cut across the rest of the societies that we share boundaries with. And that is what I'm trying to make. And back to your question, if the ministry thinks that they are buying time, so they would want to do trimester this year, and next year they will bring semester, it will show.
Not necessarily. I'm not saying biding time, but to engage, which is the point Dr. Boakye-Adom is making. Use the intervening period to enhance the conversation about it.
Yeah. So the point is,
Peter, you see,
Peter, let me hear Dr. Boakye-Adom, and then you come back quickly.
Yes, I agree with you, Peter, when it comes to some of the implementation challenges. One major implementation challenge that we face is the issue of resources. I mean, let's look at CISOs, formerly called circuit supervisors, supposed to go to individual schools within their circuits. When you speak with them, because of inadequate resources, no fuel for their motorbikes, no fuel for their vehicles, sometimes they are tempted to make phone calls to the schools just to ask, have we done this? Yes. Have we done that? Yes. Have we done that? Yes. There are instances where they have to use their own resources to go to some of these schools. Yes, we have implementation challenges. But my point is that everything about education in Ghana is not bad. That is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you've made a point, we have enough consultation and all. That is true, and I agree with you. What I'm also adding is that we also need some time to seek information. I don't want to believe that in this particular instance of the trimester, I don't want to believe that no consultation wasn't done. And then, of course, it depends on the type of consultation that one wants to do. You agree with me that consultations for various policy formulations are not the same. There are some that one will have to adopt the use of very extensive, detailed consultation. There are some that one has to adopt the use of representatives. And these representatives will have to report back, get feedback from their constituents, and come to the table with the feedback and information from their constituents. So sometimes these things are done. My point again is that I have looked at the two academic school calendar, the trimester and then the semester. And from where I sit as Director General at IEPA, where we have one of the biggest sandwich programs in educational administration at the master's level, I looked at the two and I said, wow, the sandwich semester with vacation from June 10th to June 25th would have been very helpful for us, because then our sandwich students will come for their sandwich programs without any interference with the academic calendar. We have had challenges where they come when school is still in session and district directors wouldn't want them to come and all that. So from that point, I said, this is good. How do we ensure that the implementation of this calendar works well? I have looked at the trimester. We don't have that opening at the same time. I am not saying that should be the only reason to justify the semester as against the trimester. If you go into the literature, there are some advantages of the semester over the trimester and vice versa. But we need to go for the one that works best for our context. The engagement must continue. The dialogue must continue. If at a point Ghanaians and the Ministry of Education and Ghana Education Service believes that the semester based on what we have found and based on the level of consultation. It may even get to a point where the teacher unions themselves will come and say, well, from further engagement and consultations, we believe that the semester may work better. So let us not close the door to that discussion. We must continue to engage till we get to where we must be. I must say that the trial semester one is not the best. It can be enhanced. It can get better. We must continue to explore ways of having the best for the Ghanaian educational system. So to say that if they should come back and want to re-engage and push for the semester, I don't think that should be the language. Let us continue.
No, but
yeah. Peter, unfortunately, I've run out of time, but thank you very much, Dr. Mike Boakye-Adom and Peter Appiate. Mike Boakye-Adom is the Director General Institute for Educational Planning and Administration at the University of Cape Coast. Peter Appiate, Executive Director at the Institute for Education Studies. Thank you very much for spending time with me on the big issue. A big thank you to Franklin Kujo, Dr. Tony Obin, Dr. Bright Opon-Afum, and Kwekwa Fari, as well as Christopher Nimley and Jerome Mochi, as well as Ni Lantia Vanderpool. My name is Godfred Akoto-Guafo. Have a good weekend.